Hey guys, I'm with Danny Hampton. I'm super excited. She's going to be our guest today on the eRealEstateCoach podcast. Danny comes to us with a bunch of great experience and some really fascinating, I think, insights into team building, social media, some other things in terms of just the overall cycles we all go through in this industry. So, Danny, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. So, for people that don't know you, you're out in Texas. Tell us a little bit about your background getting in the industry, maybe what you did before, and then why you got in, and what's kind of been your cycle here.
So I'm in Fort Worth, Texas. I tell a lot of people instead of calling it Dallas Fort Worth, you call it Fort Worth, Dallas, because we can all say which one's the better side. Uh, I am 33 years old. I have been in this industry for 11 years. I just had my 11th anniversary,
Nice.
which is very crazy to me to think that I'm now this 11-year vet real estate agent. I got in very young, and I just told a lot of people that I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. So I just went and started working,
Smart.
and I found myself in a lot of customer service jobs. And um, I it was very quick for me to learn that I loved helping people. And from a few connections, I actually ended up working as a leasing agent in the apartment world. And after working in apartments, I realized, well, I don't want to work up the food chain there. And so I was like, where am I able to make a little bit more money? So I had gone through my own real estate experience because I bought my first home when I was 19. We sold our first home and bought our second home by the age of 21.
Wow.
And that is when I decided to get my real estate license, and I got licensed when I was 22. And now, 11 years later, from working on real estate teams to building my own, I have been a team owner for the last 5 years and have seen a lot of success, but definitely have seen a lot of failing forward in my history.
Well, let's walk us through that. So you were on teams yourself, and then you decided to branch out, create your own team. What does that look like for you? I mean, everybody has a different journey in the real estate industry. So, what was your journey in building your team out?
So I would say after being on other real estate teams, I didn't know if that was the role I wanted. I knew that I loved selling homes. I probably geek out over the marketing side. I think that's why real estate really ties me in because I love the marketing side.
Yeah.
And I think that when I decided to branch out from a real estate team, the one thing I know I did right was I created a brand.
Mm.
And so I knew I wanted someone to tie my name to my business and really look at me as a professional because I had to kind of overcompensate a bit when I was in my younger years because obviously a lot of people would look at me and be like, "Are you sure you know what you're doing?"
Right.
So I created a brand, and the idea was if I was to build a team, it would possibly just be an assistant, and that would be pretty much the extent of it.
Sure.
I think it's because I wasn't exposed to real estate teams that worked well.
Yeah.
And so I think from there, I knew it was most likely my brokerage that was kind of creating that limited mindset because there wasn't a lot of real estate teams around us.
Sure.
And again, it's more of like ones that work because it's either like they were just a family and the family just teamed up together,
Yeah.
or they weren't really teams. Like they were just like they worked together, they put a name on themselves, but they were a bunch of individuals. So I was like, wow, it seems like there's 1,000 ways to do this.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but every mentor I had in the beginning of my career told me, Danny, you can sell a lot of homes, but please do not ever do your paperwork. And so they were like, please always leverage out and always make sure you have someone who can help you with the administrative side. So I did listen to them. I always had someone helping me on the paperwork transaction side of the business. And from there, that's kind of the start of where the group came in. But at that point, I didn't realize that I was attracting people into my organization because I created this brand. And I felt like a brand was just for me, but now I had other people wanting to get into real estate and they wanted to be a part of that brand.
What's your brand name, just out of curiosity?
So it's mine. I would tell everyone, I'm like, I'm not original because I named it after myself.
Yeah.
Uh, so it's Danny Hampton Group. And when I say brand, it's my logo.
Got it.
My logo, I decided the second I went off and branched on my own and I was trying to convince everybody that, I was building this business. I didn't want my name to be attached to old real estate teams I was a part of. So I created that logo and I put it on everything. So if I can say I probably overdid the swag, but I gave away t-shirts, cups, hats, all the things, and people were all about it. I mean, people love free stuff.
Yeah. Who doesn't? I love it.
Mhm.
So in building out your team, you have a TC, somebody that's helping you with paperwork. What was your next hire? We'll call it. Was it an assistant? Was it a buyer's agent?
Yeah, I had a buyer's agent join me. And so where I feel like, I wouldn't say I did it wrong, and I know that a lot of us agents probably are doing it wrong. And I did go from working at a big broker name. I don't know if I'm able to say the names here.
You can be agnostic. It's okay.
Yes. So when I moved from one to the other, I realized obviously the brokerage I went to join was a very, very team friendly.
Mhm.
And so of course everyone is telling me like you do it the MREA way. So the $1 million real estate agent
Sure.
way.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm sorry, you want me to read a book? And so I was like, I'm just going to figure this out. I have enough people reaching out to me saying they want to buy or sell. And if I can get another person with a license on the team with me, I can kind of help, she can be my body double.
Sure.
So just going from previous experiences of being on a team and looking at those team agreements, I just pretty much copied and paste. And I ended up having a buyer's agent on the team. But when I say that, it was just more of like, here's a person, come work with me in the office.
Mhm.
Let's go market ourselves. And if we get people, great. And this is the process as far as like the transaction,
Yeah.
but there wasn't any type of like team standards, agent standards, processes, expectations. So a lot of those things were not in place.
So it took you time to develop all those things. I'm taking it.
Yes, and I think that that's the piece where you don't realize when you're starting to build something and maybe you built it to be, it was maybe more reactive to the market.
Mhm.
And so now I feel like, okay, I've had a team pre-COVID, during COVID, and after COVID, which I hate that that ends up being our marker right now.
True. Yeah.
But I had to figure out like what at the end of the day, regardless of the market, what do I expect of my agents?
Right. Yeah. The client, your expectations, if you don't have them, nobody hits them. So you have to have the expectations so that the agents will try to achieve it at least. Let me
Yeah.
go back a step with you on your marketing, because your marketing is driving leads and lead generation. What's been your approach to social media? What's made you unique there?
So I think what makes me unique on social media is I do my best to be my authentic and I'm very transparent. So my authentic self, and I'm very transparent. I want everyone to see like the behind the scenes of my life. And I feel like a lot of us watch shows like on HGTV and DIY. And I know a lot of people are very interested in like Selling Sunset and shows like that.
For sure.
And it was more of like instead of me just having to constantly combat that conversation of like, this is not what our life looks like.
Right.
Um, I'll just show everybody. And I I think at the very beginning, I just wanted to constantly relate real estate to my name.
Mhm.
So maybe there wasn't a lot of strategy behind it, but it was definitely I just want to make sure that I'm almost oversharing the fact that I am in real estate.
Got it.
I didn't have any kind of like drip campaigns. I think I worked the first 5 years of my business not through a CRM. Um, my social media was actually my CRM. So I was like, oh, that's my database.
Right. Right. Now, did you,
Uh,
when you talk about kind of showing the difference between the real reality of real estate and, these shows that depicted it in, reality show manner, did you have like a day in the life where you're showing out yourself out, showing properties, doing open houses, doing listings? Is that what it looked like for you?
yeah, I think that's probably what it was, is that I'm just sharing the other side of it instead of the just listed side of it is I'm going to this listing appointment
Got
side.
it. I love it.
Or I got the listing, I'm so excited, and I need everybody's help to help me find a buyer for this house in this area.
Right.
Um, so I just kind of wanted to have my followers and my friends feel like they're a part of the journey.
Yeah.
And a part of that too is that I've incorporated just like my personal life into it. So it's not just I'm a real estate agent, look at me going on all these appointments.
Yeah.
It's more of I'm a human.
Hmm.
And I would have a picture of my daughter being on a showing with me.
Nice.
And recently I posted about my daughter. She's almost 9, and she now knows how to read an MLS sheet.
Nice.
And so I'm like, I'm going to take her to show, because I took her to a showing with me, and she was like, all right, well, this bedroom is on this floor. This is how many bathrooms it has.
I love it.
Yep.
That's, do you bring your doggy too? I see your dog in the background.
I know. I can't believe he's like not moving. He's yeah, I think the other part was I wanted to be relatable. So my strategy with social media was I wanted to have listing appointments or buyer appointments with people who already kind of knew me.
Yeah.
So there's a chance I didn't meet everyone I'm friends with,
Hmm.
but if there's a chance that they can go to my profile and be able to see that I am a mom of 2 girls, that, I have dogs, I have a Jeep, just what my life looks like, to give them something to relate to.
Hmm.
It absolutely made the like, no trust factor so much easier.
When you're doing content, I'm sure it's a mix, but how much of it is video versus just regular posting?
So I do everything. I do everything with video and posts, and I probably do it. I post a video or a reel at least once a day.
Wow, that's a lot. How long does that take you as a pro at it at this point?
Oh yeah, I have probably I probably have at least every single week. I probably have about 10. I was gonna be exaggerating. I'm like I have 1,000 videos, but I have at least 10 canned videos that I just need to put music to and some captions to. So I'm always just thinking about opportunities where I was on an appointment. I'll give you one today.
Yeah.
On an appointment. I had a construction meeting with a builder, and we went to go look at the floor plan that she's building so we can see an example of something they were telling us about. I just took that opportunity to just do a quick video scan across the room. And I actually, between that appointment and this podcast, I posted that video saying that if you started building a house today, that you could be in your house by Christmas.
Nice. I love it. I love it. That's smart. We're in a brand new construction, so I can relate to that.
Nice.
New house. So let me ask you this. Obviously, when you're doing a lot of social media, do you feel like you need to change up the location? You need to change up the backgrounds? You need to change it all up every time? Or do you have like a studio in your house where you're doing all your stuff?
So I do have one spot in my house. I was like, I can actually just turn the camera and show you.
Okay.
Uh, there it is.
Nice. Okay, I got it. Nice.
So we do have that spot, and I'll make just talking head videos.
Right.
Uh, and I'll usually try to bring up a few topics at a time. And I'll use that background. So you will see like the consistency of that background throughout my reels if you were to look on Instagram and look at my grid. Um, but I do try to make it more on the go. And I will say there's a lot of times where I've talked to my business coach, my mentor, and I keep asking them, man, I feel like I need to get a little bit more detailed and strategic about my approach. And they both say, they're like, Danny, you being organic and kind of on the go is probably what's attracting people to you the most.
100%. What is your on your platforms? Are you platform specific? Are you on Instagram? Are you Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, everything, YouTube Shorts? Where are you?
Yeah,
TikTok?
I'm a new Gary V follower, so apparently I'm not anywhere near where I need to be on social media.
Right.
Um, a lot of people would reference me as like a Facebook queen, and I built a lot of my presence on Facebook. And Instagram has been new to my world, and it hasn't been new, but it just has been a new focus of mine
Yeah.
just this past year. So I created a brand new profile because I started my profile as a business profile um, for the real estate team, because at that point I already knew that other people were going to be joining my team, and I didn't want everyone to expect my face.
Yeah. Yep.
So I wanted to make sure that people saw the team, they saw the faces on the team. So the last year I decided to break off of my business page and create a personal profile of my own on Instagram. And I wanted to put a lot of focus into how to build that page as a solo person versus it being related to my real estate team. Because if someone was to search up my team name, they of course see Danny Hampton Group. Well, who's Danny?
Right.
So I wanted to have that. I wanted to put more personal things onto that profile.
Sure.
And it's so interesting because I swear I am overcoached, and I go to all of the real estate conferences and I get such mixed reviews on the separating of your profiles.
Hmm.
And I just was wanting to do it so I can just see how I can build it.
Right.
And so I built it, and over the year, I have over 1,600 followers. So, I mean, starting from 0 to 1,600
That's good.
in
That's
a year
great.
time, I felt like was a decent approach, and I'm doing it in a very conservative way. And as far as just, I'm not necessarily the person who's just posting pretty photos, right? Like I'm doing it in a very organic way.
So posting is one thing, of course, on social media, but you mentioned using social media as a CRM. What's your outreach, like direct messaging and liking and engaging other people's posts? What does that look like for you?
So I've taught and coached social media several times, and I keep telling everyone, you just go back to what it is. It's social media. So you need to go on there to be social. It is not just a post and go.
Yeah.
And a lot of people do use that approach. And I am a very social person, and I think that's why social media has been an area for me to thrive in. Because I'm sorry, how can I socialize with 100 people in my pajamas at my house? You
Right.
know, so
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm in. So I I try to interact in every single way that the platform allows you. So because I keep thinking about it, they're a business. Facebook is a business, Instagram's a business, and they're going to create features, and they want those features to be used.
Mm-hmm.
And I also noticed that if you, obviously, the more you engage with someone, the more that person will see your things.
Yeah.
And so it is that piece where it's like, now you get to kind of pick and choose, especially on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
You get to pick and choose, like basically your sphere.
Right.
You get to pick and choose who you want to see your things more. And I tell a lot of people too, in the agent world, obviously we're taught to call. There's obviously email, drip campaigns, all those things. But when people are usually getting phone calls or if they're in their emails, they're usually not in a state of mind that's probably happy.
Right.
Um, and hopefully if they're getting on a social platform like Facebook or Instagram, that's where they get to see their friends. That's where they're getting entertained. So I feel like you're finding them almost in a happier state there.
Hmm.
And I'm like, I actually feel like there's probably friends that I only talk to on on those platforms versus our text messages are probably super old.
Looking at that, what's your kind of take on what percentage of your business comes from your social media versus sphere of influence and other areas?
So I almost could say that I felt like my social media was making up almost 100% of it. And it's because
Wow.
it helped me connect with my sphere.
Gotcha. Makes
And
sense.
so with having, pretty much no data from the beginning of my career of actually understanding where my business was coming from, like, all right, that person got a hold of me through this. I have learned a lot of that through my team building of actually having that data, but social media, I know from the ground up has been where I have put a lot of energy into. And when I wasn't operating through a CRM and I'm doing most of my reach outs and contacts through just adding friends online. So you could even relate that to putting people into your database. So adding friends and doing things like that. Seeing the numbers. So I was able to leave the real estate team I was on. I had closed 40 homes in one
Nice.
year.
Wow.
And out of the 40 homes, almost 30 of those homes were self-generated from me using social media.
Hmm.
And then my next year is when I went off on my own and I closed 52 homes.
Wow.
And that was me and a transaction coordinator. And again, all through the use of social media. So I think, again, it's a tool.
Hmm.
Um, I did do a lot of like community events. So I would go to carnival, like an Easter carnival at a church or just anywhere I can have a booth and meet more people.
It's nice.
And instead of me adding them into my CRM, I was asking them to be friends on social media,
Which was your CRM, right? So that is
which
your
was my CRM. Yes,
yeah.
because I figured I was like, well, if they friend me, I do post. So if I
See.
friend them, they'll see my things.
Right. Right. Now,
So
you said I'm assuming now today you have CRM of some kind, right?
yes, I think that between the year I did 52 and I went from 52.75 to 147.
Wow.
And when I went from 75 to 147, CRMs definitely got placed.
Hmm.
And that also, an interesting way is when my husband joined my business,
Mm.
um, because he is someone who comes from the IT world. He was a business analyst before. And so, of course, it drove him nuts how I didn't have anything in spreadsheets or
Not
whatever.
data driven, right?
Yes, yes. And I think obviously when my business started driving up as well, obviously that's when taxes, we were really having to get more detailed on the business and where it was coming from and
Mhm.
where's money coming in and out.
Yeah.
So I keep telling everybody, I'm like, I just missed that day in business school before I started in real estate.
Uh-huh. So today, I mean, so you started with social media, and that was kind of your lead generation model for a while. But now you're doing 140, 150 transactions a year. What have you added to that since? I mean, have you added like doing email newsletters? I mean, all the traditional things as well, or are you still just pretty much social media?
So I will say, especially given the market that has shifted over the last few years,
Hmm.
um, I quickly realized that it was only my social media that was driving most of our business. And the more agents I started to attract into the team, and I noticed that I think it was around year 6 and 7, I really started having to leverage out to the team to have them work more clients and me less, because I was battling with my autoimmune disease.
Mm,
And it's stress related. So I was like,
yeah,
oh, what a great business to be in. And so, but then my agents didn't know how to lead generate. And
right.
that was a big like reality check for me.
Hmm.
Um, but if everyone who is reaching out to me through social media because they all feel like they have a relationship with me through these platforms, I realize that that's kind of where I missed the mark on teaching my agents to lead generate, but they need contacts.
Yeah.
And so I then leveraged out to, doing online leads. And as far as the systems that go into like an email newsletter, I legit just started an email newsletter. I'm like year 11. I was like, I think I was refusing to do a newsletter or something.
Right.
But email, if anything, email is really uh an eye opener to me, because I don't think I was taking advantage of email before. I put probably too many coins in the social media bucket, and I don't mind it, but I tell everyone it's out of our control if our people start signing off on it.
Right.
So that was where I was like, you have to kind of put, you got to get more buckets.
Yeah.
And so I was like, we need social media, the in-person lead generation, and then the online lead generation of like emails. But I will tell you, this is where you're probably going to, I don't think it will be a surprise. So I'm not email newsletter agent quite yet.
Right. Right.
I am the events agent.
I love that. I think that's brilliant.
So I have probably from the very beginning of just me putting myself in booths at school carnivals and things like that. I now have created a group of my past clients. We call them the DHG homies. They named themselves, by the way. And we started making t-shirts specific to the homies. We started doing specific events just for them. So we had like axe throwing one year,
Love it.
uh, dogs and donuts we've done. And I had a pet photographer come out and people got to get professional photos with their dogs. Uh,
Wow. That's
and
so
then,
cool.
of course, I had a rescue there. I'm actually going to be bringing that event back. That was a couple of years ago. So, yeah, we do lots of events throughout the year to give a reason to be in touch.
Love it. That's we call that a VIP group, which I think is brilliant. Past clients. So smart. So smart. So going forward, you mentioned you had an autoimmune disease and you kind of battled through that. What's the messaging you have for people that might have, something going on with them health wise? And how do you deal with that when you're closing 140 transactions a year? I mean, even when you're closing 10, how do you deal with it?
When you get into real estate, I think you absolutely need to invest in your mental health.
Yeah,
Um, you need to invest in your health because this job is obviously going to require a lot of you when it comes to your physical health of, us going out to appointments. And then our mental health when it comes to just balancing life.
right.
And of course, depending on the person's like money psychology, I feel like I meet way too many burnt out agents. And I know that I was that burnt out agent. And so I truly believe in the things that I started to do when unfortunately just like my health took me down.
Sure.
And so when my health took me down, I had no choice but, right? And in those moments, that's when I started investing into just really understanding like mental health. And my mentor told me about journaling. And I started journaling 3 years ago. And I at first thought he was kind of a crazy person, thinking that he has a diary with like a lock on it or something. And but I picked up a notebook that had prompted questions because I tell people this all the time. Journaling sometimes, if you're not used to it, you will not know how to approach it. because you're sitting over here like, what do I do? Tell myself about my day. So I started with a gratitude journal.
Mhm.
We hear it so many times that,
Yeah, of course.
gratitude, being in a state of gratitude is always going to lift you up and help get rid of those anxious thoughts. And so I started with a gratitude journal. And from there, I just started giving myself more opportunities to free write. And now I'm completely free writing. I've been free writing for two years, which is actually, I tell everyone it's a gift because I get to actually go back and read
Yeah.
what I wrote a year ago and to understand where I've been.
Hmm.
And it's a great reflection. I think a lot of us agents probably act as sponges, and
Yeah.
we are helping people in their most stressed time.
Right.
So I think that if we don't have a healthy way of actually, putting that energy somewhere, that, unfortunately we can hold that in, and it can really, and I know for sure that was probably one of the things that triggered my autoimmune to really activate, because I was just holding all of this stress in, and it
Yeah.
wasn't even mine, it was everybody else's
People's, yeah.
stress.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that's interesting. I do believe, our greatest asset is our own body and our minds. And if we don't have that going for us as realtors, what else do we have? I mean, that is our business, right? Is ourselves. And I think that's a really, really good point you're making. So, Danny, if somebody wants to, follow you on social media and start referring you business, how would they do that? I mean, what's the best way to reach out to you?
So I feel like I'm now the Instagram realtor. So
Mhm.
my new identity is on Instagram,
Okay.
at the Danny Hampton. I always encourage everybody to follow my personal profile. I hope that everyone can at least get influenced by it in some way, because I do try to be my most authentic self and sharing the highs and the lows of just going through life.
Yeah.
And I do obviously put my real estate business into my personal profile. It will end up driving you to my business profile, and I try to share all the good stuff on both.
Great. I love it. And then if someone wants to refer you business, your market area is what area?
Dallas, Fort Worth.
Dallas,
So
Fort Worth, the whole area.
yes, yes, Dallas, Fort Worth. My team has grown. We are now a team of 10, and I am doing my best to keep with central located agents, so that way we can service both sides of the Metroplex.
I love it. It's been a pleasure having you on the show, and I know everybody's going to learn a lot from this session. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, and if everybody likes the show and they like the content, we'd love to have you give us a 5-star review and, of course, subscribe. Thank you so much.